Hey, what is going on, guys? BSD Speer here, back with another Destiny 2 video. Now in this video we're going to be going over public events and showing you guys how to activate all 8 public events and trigger them into the heroic versions. Now public events have become a favorite pastime in Destiny 2. They're really a good way to get a bunch of Glimmer, a bunch of XP, and a bunch of exotics and legendary gear. You can also get planetary tokens, and they're relatively easy to do. So we're going to show you all 8 public events, how to trigger them into heroic events, which is going to increase your rewards for each public event. So as always, guys, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you're new here, and let's get started with how to activate all 8 public events. Alright, so first off, how do we find public events? Well, if you pull up your directory on your map, under any destination, you're going to see these blue icons that say public event incoming. They're going to have a timer with them. That's how long until this public event actually spawns in. What you want to do is you want to show up a little bit early, probably about 2 minutes or a minute before it starts. That way you can rally the flag. Now, what rallying the flag does is fully charges your super, and it also recharges all of your ammo. So you're definitely going to want to show up to these public events early, as that's going to increase your chances of completing them, especially if you're going for the heroic version, which are going to be slightly more difficult. Alright, so starting off with the easiest, in my opinion, of the heroic events is going to be the Witch's Ritual. For this, there's going to be 2 plates. When you step on the left plate, it's going to drop the shield of the left wizard, so you can kill her. Same thing on the right side. When you step on the right plate, it's going to drop the shield for the right wizard, and you can defeat her. Now, once you defeat both wizards, you're going to move on to the next section where you have to use the plates to drop the shields of these crystals up in the top right and top left of the room. The right plate is going to drop the shield of the right crystal, and the left plate is going to drop the shield of the left crystal. Once you destroy both crystals, that's what's going to actually trigger it into a heroic event. So once you trigger the heroic version, there's going to be a giant knight to pop out of the portal. All you have to do is defeat him, and you'll complete this heroic public event. Like I told you, this is probably the easiest one to be done. Moving on to the next public event, we have the Weapons Exchange, which is the one with the Fallen Walker. Now in this one, basically you have to destroy the legs on the walker, and once you do, it's going to open up and drop these electric charges. Now what you have to do is you have to pick up these charges and place them in the box surrounding all 3 of these bubbles. So you'll need 6 charges in total. And once you free all of the Scorch Cannons, that's actually what's going to trigger the public event. So once the Scorch Cannons are free, you'll get a second walker to drop in, and then you just have to destroy both of them. Now while you're doing this, one thing to keep in mind, because it is a public event, if other people don't know how to trigger it, they might just keep destroying the first one before you get a chance to place all of the charges. So make sure that you pick up those charges and place them as quickly as you can. That way you can make sure to trigger this public event. Alright, next up we have the Cabal Excavation. Now this one can be difficult, but overall it's pretty easy once you know how it works. Basically there's going to be a giant drill in the middle. All the guardians have to stand within the circle to override the lander. Now what's going to happen is about 30 to 40%, there's going to be a giant ship to spawn in called the Thresher, and you're going to have to destroy that ship to trigger the public event. Now if you don't get it on the first time around, it does come back around about 90% completion, but once you do destroy this ship, that's actually going to be what triggers the heroic event to spawn in. Now once the heroic spawns in, all you're going to have to do is destroy this giant Cabal, and then you'll have the heroic event for this completed. Alright, the next public event we have is the Ether Resupply public event. This one's relatively easy, however if you're playing solo it can be slightly difficult. So what you're going to need to do to complete this event is you have to destroy the giant servitor. However, to trigger it into a heroic version, which is what we want, we have to destroy the smaller servitors first. So as you take out more chunks of his health, it's going to spawn in these small servitors, and once you get about halfway down on his health, it's going to spawn 3 at once. So make sure anytime you see small servitors, take them out, and once you do, it's going to trigger it into the heroic event. Now once it goes to the heroic public event, the main servitor is going to be a lot more tanky, it's going to take a lot more damage, and it's also going to deal a lot more damage, but it shouldn't be too difficult that you can get it done in no time. Alright, the next public event is the Glimmer Extraction public event. This is probably one of my favorites to do, but what you have to do is you have to just defeat these Glimmer Extraction crews from stealing all this Glimmer. Now, to trigger the heroic version, you're going to have to find this vacuum I'm shooting at now. Now, what you have to do is you have to destroy this vacuum before you actually destroy all of the enemies, and this is going to go through 3 different times, 3 different areas that it teleports to. You have to destroy this vacuum. Now, if you don't destroy this vacuum, you won't be able to trigger the heroic public event. Now, once you have destroyed all 3 vacuums for all 3 locations that they try to extract Glimmer, you're going to get this giant pile of Glimmer to spawn on the ground, and you're going to have to defend the pile of Glimmer. Now, this is going to be kind of difficult because there's going to be this giant captain that is trying to steal all the Glimmer back. So just take them out, take out all the Shanks, all the Vandals, all the Dregs, and you'll be fine. Once you get it up to 100%, then you'll have this heroic version completed. Alright, the next public event, we have the Taken Blight public event. Now, this one seems like it might be actually kind of difficult, but it's actually not that bad at all. Basically, to trigger the heroic public event is you have to destroy the giant Taken Blight before the time runs out. Now, in order to actually be able to damage this, you do have to dip in and out of the smaller Blights, and that's going to give you a small 5-second buff called Blight Receding. So if you do have Blight Receding on your screen in the bottom left text feed, then you can actually do damage. Now, I would suggest using, rocket launchers, supers, anything that does a lot of damage in a small amount of time, because you're going to have to continuously keep popping in and out. Now, one thing to remember about this one, if other people don't know how to trigger the heroic event, they might end up just destroying the smaller Blights, and you're going to have to keep chasing down the bigger Blights. So definitely make sure you get this done as quickly as you can, that way you don't have to keep chasing this Blight around. Now, once you do trigger the heroic public event, there's going to be the Blight Maker that spawns from the giant Blight, and then all you have to do is kill him before the time runs out. Alright, next up we have the Spire Integration public event. This is one of the more difficult public events in the game. Basically, your main objective is to make sure the Vex do not sacrifice themselves to the center conflux. Now, what you need to do is you're going to see these strings of light coming out from the center conflux, and those are going to lead out to 3 different plates that you have to defend. Basically, you have one person stand within the center of the radius of the circle, and it's going to charge up to build the Spire. Now, you're going to have to do this to all 3 of the locations in order to trigger the heroic event. Now, while you're doing this, you do need to kill as many ads as you can and make sure that they don't sacrifice themselves to the center console. But like I said, once you trigger all 3 Spires within the time limit, basically it's going to spawn in a lot more enemies. You're going to start to see more Fanatics, more Cyclopses, Hydras. Basically, the Vex are going to send all they have at you, and all you have to do then is just continue to make sure they don't sacrifice themselves to that conflux. Alright, so for the final public event, we have the Injection Rig. Just save this for last because I feel like this is one of the more difficult ones to trigger to heroic. Basically, once the event starts, there's going to be this main Scion that you're going to have to kill. Once you do kill that Scion, the Injection Rig is going to start a countdown before it'll start incinerating anything in the area. You're going to want to look at the top for these vents, shoot your rockets at the vents, and then you're going to want to shoot it with your primary. Now, once you see smoke coming from the vents, that means you've done enough damage to that vent. There's 3 vents in total that you're going to have to destroy. So there's 2 on top, and there is, I believe, 2 or 3 spots on the bottom that you can actually destroy. But you basically only have 3 shots at this. So if you coordinate between your teammates, you can make sure to destroy all 3 vents like we did here before your time runs out. Now, once you destroy all 3 vents, there's actually going to be a giant Cabal to spawn in, which you're going to have to kill for the public event. Now, like I said, this is one of the more difficult ones because as soon as you start taking damage, it can be extremely tricky to try and complete this. But like I said, once you complete and destroy all 3 vents, you're going to get this giant Cabal you can destroy, and then you've completed this heroic event. Alright guys, well that is going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always guys, you guys are incredible. Thanks for all the support on the channel. If you guys did enjoy this video, if it helped you at all, be sure to drop a like. Let me know your thoughts down below on public events. If you think they need a nerf, if you think they need a buff, if you think they're perfect, let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more Destiny 2 content, and I will see you all next time. I'm BSD Speer, and I'm out.